Welcome back to Voracious Podcast. Got my co-host Hershey Schaffner, 516 Ministries here. We're just going to jump right into it. I think a lot of our viewers, a lot of people out there, maybe don't even know why they should even pay attention or watch this podcast at all.
That's
got any
question.
answers for that? No,
because it's amazing.
It's probably the best one. It's the best Voracious podcast.
Oh, I thought you meant this was the best podcast of.
I did.
It's the best podcast. It's filmed in this location. 100%.
Yeah, it's not bad, anyways.
No, that's good. I mean, that's our goal, is to not be bad.
But I think a lot of people, and I'm just thinking out loud here. But I think a lot of people think, why should I pay attention? Why should I even want to know about Christianity? Why would I even want to be, quote, saved? What do you think about that? Because I think that's a real question with people these days. Well, maybe even back before, but I think in older times, people were more religious, you know.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Now it's just like whatever. I think, me personally, I think people see Christianity is viewed pretty harshly. I think it's one of the most hated religions. I think people see it as a bunch of rules of don'ts.
Yeah.
So why should I be saved?
It's a good question. And I think it is a real question now. I think it's probably more now than ever. I mean, even like surveys they do.
Yeah.
I think, especially in America, because we kind of are and I know this is debatable, but a Christian nation. I mean, we were founded on godly principles and I think that time has kind of allowed or caused people, for whatever reason, lots of different reasons, to shift away from the church, organized religion, lots of different schools of thought, lots of different religions that have kind of come to the forefront. Why
do you think people have left organized religion?
Well, I think because there unfortunately have been a lot of bad things in organized religion that
definitely.
Yeah, I mean, obviously have caused people to
shysters.
Yeah, there's that, and then there's the like you alluded to, the don't rule. Don't do this. Like, people think that Christianity is like, you can't have any fun. If you do have fun, you're probably going to go to hell. The pastors or the priests or whoever the minister is, a lot of them kind of did have a hellfire brimstone message for a while, and pretty prevalent. And so, I think it kind of pushed people away. The law, it kind of coming out, and that's what the law does. It pushes you out. It causes you also to look at yourself and go, dang, like things aren't really good. But then when there's no moral compass in there,
like the law, like you're talking about Old Testament.
Yeah, Old Testament law,
Testament
like thou shalt nots.
Yeah, the 10 Commandments.
Yeah, which are actually good if you look at them, because you don't want to be killing people. And
well, correct. And I also look at the law, I think, from a different lens than most people. I used to look at it like everybody else, like, these are the don't do's because it's bad. And It is bad. The don'ts are bad. Don't do them. But it's actually there so that God knows. First off, you have to believe in God.
Yeah, that helps.
God knows how he created humans and the best way for them to live. And he's basically, I think, telling us through the law, all 600 and whatever laws of Moses.
I think it's 11.
Yeah, well.
Just
611. Not
611.
10 commandments plus one. No.
Yeah. That's all you need.
He's telling you, this is how you'll live your best life as a human that I created. Not do this stuff and you're going to just burn in hell. That wasn't the point. Like, you're alive now.
Right.
And I want you to live as good as you can now.
Sure.
I think that was a big part of it. It is being clean and all that stuff, but at the same time, I think especially the 10 Commandments is like, don't do this stuff. It's the biggest ones that's going to screw your life up.
Sure.
I mean, is that fair?
I mean, yeah, I think it's for sure fair. I think that you kind of also, you know, I guess when you get into, you mentioned it, like the first thing is you have to believe there is a God. You know, I heard somebody talking about, it's a person who debates, they're a believer. They debate with atheists. And they said their first question to every atheist is, do you hope that you're right or wrong?
Right.
And he said, if they say, I hope I'm wrong, then he knows that they can actually have a good conversation, because he said even people who don't believe in anything want to be wrong because they want there to be something else.
Yeah.
Because most people don't want there to be nothing, like we die and there's nothing.
Uh-huh.
I mean, because we were created to have something more than just this life.
Yeah.
As we believe, obviously, that God created man, you know, for relationship. And so it's more than just you don't exist anymore. Yeah. So he said even a true atheist is going to say, yeah, I hope I'm wrong, but what I've seen so far has not proven to me that there is some kind of existence outside of just what we have.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I think that that's the first thing. And then it's the perception of God, right?
Mm-hmm.
To me, one of the wildest things is I used to, you know, be a youth pastor, and I remember I would go do youth camps. And the first thing I would ask these groups of kids is, what do you think God is like? Like, how do you view God? Like, when you think of God, what do you think of? And they would, and it never failed. 90% of them thought about God the way I did as a kid. And it was like Zeus. So it's this old dude sitting on this like stone throne with a long white beard, you know, thunderbolt in one hand, hammer in the other.
Looking for people to smite.
Just smite me, almighty smiter.
I got nothing better to do than smite my creation here.
Smite them all. And you know, and I loved mythology growing up. Like, I was really into the Greek gods, the Norse gods, the Roman gods. And Zeus was kind of a jerk, and like was this master manipulator. You know, he would go down and impregnate different women and do all kinds of things that he wanted to do. He was this horrible creator, and he just watched humanity like it was a giant chessboard that he was playing with. And I think that a lot of people, at least in my experience, have viewed God in that way.
Yeah, I think so.
And so when you look at God as like this ominous being who's out to get you, just playing with your life, like, why do you want to have anything to do with him?
Yeah.
And that's,
why would you?
Yeah. Cause
I wouldn't.
I didn't. But then that's where the shift came of, and it's so cliche to say, but it's not a religion. It is a relationship.
Yeah.
And it's like this moment where I realized like Jesus cared about me.
Yeah.
Like, I felt him, not to sound again, super spirit, but pulling on my heartstrings or, you know, or pushing me to go, there's more that you were created for.
Yeah.
And when I had that encounter, like, there's no one that can argue with me about that. They can tell me all day long, God's not real. I've experienced it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the sad part, is so many people get stopped by the religious structure, the mindset that God is Zeus-like or angry at them. And probably because honestly, they heard it from a church person or some preacher.
There's a lot. I even remember there's a clip of an old Oprah episode where they have some old preachers on there, and then they have this kid, he's probably around 12, and he's preaching fire and brimstone, you know, and his, you know, it's just like the whole accountants, and he's just like, you know, basically everybody's going to burn in hell. And I'm like, it was off-putting to that's the point though. It's off-putting to the whole audience. They're just like, what are you doing? You know, teaching this kid this stuff, and like, he didn't see anything wrong with it. It was what he was taught, but that's the problem. I think that's what's put out there, and I don't know why that message got so big. I have no idea. I
mean, you know, again, there's a spiritual side to it, and the only way to account for why it would be like that is because there is a real God and there is a real devil. And so the devil is out to kill, steal, and destroy. Yeah. Is what Jesus said about him in John 10:10. But that Jesus came to give life and life abundantly. And so in this culture, in the Western culture, the best tactic he had was not to show up in a pitchfork and red, horns and all that kind of stuff and go, hi, I'm the devil, follow me. But the best tactic he had was to portray God in a light that people would see as unattractive.
Yeah.
Or undesirable.
So then what is being saved in its most basic form, as simple as possible? How does somebody be saved? How do you become a Christian for real and just know that in your heart you're doing all right? Like, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like for the people watching that are still tuned in, that are curious, like, why would I even consider being a Christian? Why not be a Muslim? Or, sure. Like, Muslims are like hardcore, man.
Yeah.
Like
they are.
They got us beat.
Oh yeah. And and that's
as far as religion goes. I'm just saying them suckers they're serious about when they pray, how they pray, what they do. I think this month
we're in Ramadan.
Ramadan.
Right now. Yeah. And right now they fast until the sun goes down.
Yeah.
And not like a set time, like
water and food.
Yeah. They fast completely until the sun goes down. And, we just hit daylight savings switch.
Yeah.
So they had a whole nother extra hour that they have to wait.
Wonderful.
I mean, dude, I don't like going without one meal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what do you have to do to be saved? What does that even mean?
I mean, so like to be saved.
Yeah.
Like the Bible says,
because a lot of people just think they have to live a good life and do quote the 10 Commandments, and then God won't be mad at me.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's true. And that's not the way it works.
Not at all.
So the scripture says that you believe in your heart, confess with your mouth, believe in your heart, and you'll be saved.
Yeah.
Like it's that simple. And
yeah,
it's not a lot of like, and then you have to tithe, and then you have to, come to church every Sunday. Those are things that are aspects that are add-ons that don't determine your salvation. There's not works in it. It is
totally free gift.
Yeah. Yeah. It is relationship. And so, yeah, I mean, it's actually, and for some people, this is their story. Like I just said, God, if you're real, prove it to me. And I've challenged people in that. Like, don't take my word for it. Go home, sit in a room by yourself and put that challenge out to God.
Yeah.
Jesus, if you're real, then I want to know you.
Now, then we'll obviously get the people thinking, well, does that mean I can just live any way you want or any way I want? But I believe Jesus but if you really believed, you wouldn't live any way you want. You would live the way he wants you to live.
Yeah. Well, and what it says.
So that's the shift.
Yeah. Cause what it says is you get a heart, your heart is stone, and then he gives you a heart of flesh. So like you kind of like the Grinch, right? I mean, his heart grew 3 times that day. And
I saw that cartoon.
That was powerful. We watch it every year, the one with Jim Carrey too, and like when he falls on the ground and he's like, something's happening. I'm leaking. Yeah. And, but we joke that's when the Grinch gets saved, because all of a sudden now he feels, he has like this change of emotion in his life. And that's what happens when Christ comes in is like, you're like, oh my gosh. And it's hard to explain to somebody, but it is like the grass is greener and the sky is bluer and the birds sound prettier, because you went from death to life.
Yeah.
And so in that, it's not a like, oh, I got saved. Now I'm just going to go out and, do whatever I want to do. It's like, I just got saved. I want to know more about this person who just rescued me.
Yeah.
I want to follow you. I'm, a reference. I'm in a movie reference mode, but it's kind of like,
it's all right.
Toy Story, right?
Yeah.
They rescue the little Martian guys, the Mr. Potato Head, and they, you have saved our lives. We are eternally grateful. And they, Daddy, and they follow him around like unabashedly. And that's kind of the thing that happens is like, you're like, oh my gosh, I found what I was made for.
Mm-hmm.
And the motivation of all of it. And I think this is what's important for people to hear is it really is about love.
Yep.
You were talking about Islam and many Muslims are coming to Christ and becoming born again. And the number one reason of people that I've talked to personally and other Muslims that I've heard their story, they say, what I saw in Christianity was a God who loved. Because in Islam, I had a God I had to serve at fear of punishment. But when I saw this message of love, that's what transformed me. And that's where I think the church is goofed up, because we've been all about don't.
Yeah.
Turn or burn, fly or fry. When in reality,
and really big on, well, there's the don'ts and then there's the big do. You have to give 10%.
Oh yeah, but that's a whole, you're going down
another
trail right there.
I'm just saying that, that one gets me sometimes.
I get it. I mean, it's wrong.
Yeah.
Because it does make it about what you're doing when it was all about love.
Yep.
There were 611 commandments.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus said all of it summed up in 2.
Yeah.
Love the Lord with all of your heart, mind, soul, and strength, and love your neighbor as yourself.
Love your neighbor as yourself. A lot of people don't even know who their neighbors are.
Oh, that's true. Especially here. I've got one great neighbor. We talk about football all the time. She's fantastic.
There you go. So it's a free gift. There's no add-ons at that point. And it is what it is. And so I want to pose a question that I've heard a lot of people talk about either way. So here's the question.
Sit back and listen.
Here's the question. It's pretty simple, but okay. So somebody gets saved and they have a low moment and they do the unthinkable and they commit suicide. Where are they ending up in eternity?
Yeah, you said that's a simple question. That is not a simple question.
Simple question.
But it's a good question.
It's a good question. But I want to hear your comments on this. I want to know, what do you think? Even if you don't agree with what he's about to say, comment and let us know your experiences or what you think about this question. If somebody commits suicide who's saved, are they going to heaven or not? I'm really curious what people think because I've heard so many different answers.
Yeah.
So what's your answer?
So my answer is that it has changed. When I was first a Christian, first preaching, I would have told you point blank, you kill yourself, bam, you go to hell.
Yeah.
Like I was kind of, dogmatic, legalistic.
Sure.
Like most people are, unfortunately. But I had an encounter that was actually, I went through this in my life. My uncle lived a really hard life.
Yeah.
He was adopted. He grew up in a bar. When my grandparents adopted him, he had a scar down his abdomen that they still don't know what it was. Like he had been cut wide open as a kid.
Whoa.
Had a really hard life. In and out, actually went AWOL from the Navy. My mom was older. His nickname for my mom was I can't say on the air for you because it is supposed to be. And so, but that was who he was, and he was a terrifying human being in a lot of ways.
Okay.
To the point where he actually told my aunt that if she ever left him or cheated on him, how he would kill her and how they would never find her body. Like this is how dark he got.
Yeah, he had it planned out.
Yeah, he was.
Like, just so you know, I have a plan.
Yeah. I mean, that's where he was at. But he got born again. I mean, and it was one of those like, there's no way that he would ever, like Johnny Lee was this way.
Uh-huh.
He was the kid that blew up the toilets at school.
Yeah.
He brought a skunk to school. I mean, he was just a troublemaker. And he came to church that I was actually working at, and he gave his life to the Lord. And we became super close and talked all the time about the things that God was doing. And Johnny Lee in life really I honestly believe he really only loved one person, which was my grandfather. And my grandfather had an aneurysm and passed away. And so Johnny Lee got born again and was doing pretty good, but he hit this really low moment after my grandfather passed away.
Mm-hmm.
And in that low moment, he attempted suicide. And so he'd written a note to my grandmother about it, and he attempted suicide. He actually called me, and when he'd overdosed, he regretted it. We got him to the hospital, and they pumped his stomach. He was fine.
Yeah.
But then they put him into a facility. And so while he was at that facility, somehow he was able to get a belt, and he hung himself and did kill himself. And so I was, devastated. My grandmother was devastated. And I was like, Lord, I don't understand what's going on. And it was sometime after he passed away, and we were at the funeral, and I was spending time with my grandmother, consoling her. And in that moment, I kind of had like what I want to say is like a revelation from God, that I felt like the Lord showed me that Johnny Lee got born again because he believed that Jesus could save his soul eternally.
Yeah.
Like he believed, if I believe in him, I'll have eternal life, like John 3:16 says.
Yeah.
But what he didn't believe, and I don't think he was really taught in church, unfortunately, is that Jesus can save you out of the moment you're in right now. Mm-hmm. And so in that low moment, like you were talking about, he believed that Jesus could eternally save him, but that he couldn't get out of this situation. And that was the only way out.
Yeah.
And I truly believe that it is based on the individual. Because I think if I were to do it, I know better. I know it's wrong. I do. I think there's an accountability there. And this is my opinion.
Totally.
That I think if I did it, I know it's wrong, and I would probably bust hell wide open because I would be doing something that I know God is not pleased with, and that would go against what he has called me to do. And I've been suicidal. I mean, I've contemplated it. I've come as close as having a shotgun sitting on my chest.
Yeah.
But I knew in that moment, like if I do, this is going to end bad. More ways than one.
Sorry, I don't mean to laugh.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's true. So I've been in that place, and I do believe, I think it's an accountability of what you know, what you've been taught, because I just don't think a loving and just God.
Well, especially if to be saved, it spells it out how to be saved, and you do that, and you really believe that Christ is Lord and he's Lord in your life, but you're having a low moment.
Yeah.
It doesn't negate what he did. Mm-mm. So to me, that's what I believe. That's my answer, is that if you're saved and you have a low moment and you do something stupid, for lack of a better word, I don't know. I mean, that's just, it's the dumb thing to do. I mean, it seems like your only way out, but
it's a lie.
It's a lie.
It is a lie.
Yeah,
it is a lie. That's why when most people, when they take pills or something, their first thing they do is they call someone to help them.
Yeah.
Because immediately they're like, oh, snap, this is not what I wanted to do.
No. They realize that was a dumb move. Mm-hmm. Like, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I just don't see where that action doesn't negate what Jesus did for you and the gift that he gave you. And so I guess that's where I would differ from your opinion, because yes, you're accountable for what you do and what you know, but I still don't see how me knowing that breaks the covenant I have with the Lord.
I understand. I
mean, you might.
Yeah. For me, and for me, it's like I would be willfully going against what I know is right. It's kind of like where, the Bible says those who practice these different things.
Yeah.
And I think that, again, that for me, I've been in this thing. I know him. I know at the end of the day that he's good. And I've been in those really, really dark places.
Yeah.
And so, and at the end of the day, but I was like, I've got more knowledge than what Johnny Lee did in that time. Mm-hmm. And so, I do think God is merciful and gracious and kind and just.
Yeah.
And so if you only know so much, how can you be held accountable for something you don't know?
Right.
Which is another deep question.
Yeah.
But that's where I'm at. I feel like I know this would be wrong. And maybe it was just enough to scare the crap out of me to not do it so that I could be sitting here and having this discussion,
maybe so. And I guess if I equate it to this, and then we'll wrap up. But so if my son, which he does this often right now, I don't know, if he lies to me, he willingly and knowingly, and he knows the consequence of that, but he never ceases being my son. He can't.
Right. But at the same time, when he knowingly and willingly lies to you.
No, we're wrapping up.
No. You want to step on the mine. We got to get you out of here. Okay. When he knowingly and willingly does that, at the conclusion of that, is there a consequence to his action?
Yes.
From you?
Yes.
And that's what I'm saying.
But the consequence isn't you're no longer my son.
No, I understand that. But the consequence is there's a price to be paid.
Absolutely.
And so if I do something and intentionally end my own life, then I don't think there's that moment for, again, this is for me.
No,
I think that other people are going to be like, I also don't believe, if you're driving down the road and you're, about to get hit by a semi and you holler out, "Oh,
yeah,
you're going to hell now." I think it's that willful decision. Like for me, again, it would have had for me to have pulled the trigger or to have done what I thought about doing.
Yeah.
It would have had to have been me going against the prompting of the Holy Spirit saying, this is not this. Mm-hmm. There's another way. I would have had, I knew enough to willfully go against it.
Yeah.
And that's where I don't think he would have said, "You're no longer my son," but my actions would have said, "I'm no longer your son." And it would have been my choice.
Your choice.
It would have been my choice. Cause honestly, that's again, we're getting into this, but to really lose salvation.
Yeah.
I don't think it's God that takes it away from you. I think it's you that makes the decision to walk away.
Yeah.
And there are people that have.
If there's a gift on the table that he gave to you, you can either hold it or not.
Yeah.
Like accept it or not.
Yeah.
And so you're saying that choice you could put that box back on the table.
Yeah. I made that choice.
Interesting.
Because in John 10:27, Jesus says, "The Father holds you in his hand,
mm-hmm.
and I hold you in my hand, like you're carved in the palm of my hand." And the analogy I've used is like when your kids are little and you swing them, you hold on to them. Like when you do that, like you grab a hold of their wrist, right? You don't rely on their strength as you swing them out into the parking lot.
Yeah.
Right. And so the only way that kid's going to get out of your grip is if they're fighting you.
Yeah.
If they make a choice, I don't want to be held onto. Yeah. Right. And then they fly into the side of a truck. Right?
Jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. Something like that. or some ancient martial art.
They're squirrely.
They are.
Kids are squirrely.
And so I think, again, it would be my choice to walk away from it.
I think we could go around on that.
We can, yeah.
Forever.
Okay.
We're going to end the episode because, that was good though. So yeah, definitely share your comments in the comment section below. Really anxious to hear what everybody has to say on this topic. And thanks. If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe, click the notification thing if you want to.
Even if you don't want to, just do it. Just feel the pressure right now to do it.
Please and then be pressured. I will never sell you anything. I don't have anything for sale. Anybody that has a t-shirt's been given a t-shirt. Like I've been noticing, just to wrap up, that everybody online is selling something.
Well, yeah.
Everybody.
It's the way, it's the way of the world now.
Like my favorite is Jordan Peterson, but he sells all kinds of stuff.
Yeah. But
it's stupid for him not to, I guess. But for me in this podcast, I'm not really into that. If I ever get a chance to monetize through YouTube, I will, and it'll run ads, but I don't have like a line of clothing or coffee mugs or hats.
Or hats. You could do hats.
Yeah, I'm not even telling people where to get my hats. No, they're my hats.
You won't even let me have one.
Well, you can have one of mine, but it's kind of big.
Yeah, it's kind of like the shirt I got. It was passed down.
Yeah, I did give him one of my shirts, but we're way different sizes. Anyway, just so you know that I'm not like on here trying to sell you a bunch of stuff or get you to donate to my ministry or anything. That's not me. So anyway, take that with whatever you will, and we'll see you next time. Thanks, guys.
Later.